Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the ultimate cozy mystery guide for fall. I have over 30 different cozy mysteries I will be talking about today in rapid succession so we can get through them in a shorter amount of time. We're gonna try. So we're gonna hop into this and hope my voice doesn't go out. That's the plan. Hopping into the first one. So the first one I want to talk about is one I actually checked out from the library, so I'll put a picture on screen. It's called The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell. And this is described very accurately, in my opinion, as Clue meets the British Bake Off. It is the perfect smattering of these shows. It's the most cozy, heartwarming mystery. It's really set up in a way where you have these contestants who are going to this big estate in this beautiful countryside, of course. That's where the show takes place. You're learning about the filming, you're learning about each contestant, you're reading from each of their points of view. And the characters for this are great. They very much feel kind of like Clue characters, like each have their own like motives and kind of like caricature, but they're fleshed out much more than that, so it's not just left at that point. The mystery for this was really good. The descriptions for the baking competition were delicious. There was a lot of interesting characters in this. I just so enjoyed it. If you kind of like that kind of Clue board game-esque feel, I think this is perfect. I think the baking competition just makes it, like, because baking is just such a fall thing to me. Like fall and winter, you just want to bake, have the oven on. I think it's so cozy. So definitely recommend The Golden Spoon. Next, we're gonna go through this stack here. So I recently checked out for my library Secondhand Spirits by Juliet Blackwell. This is a witchcraft mystery. It is book one in the series, so this is very much a supernatural cozy mystery. Now, I'm not the biggest person for supernatural cozies that are like super heavy on the supernatural elements. This one is definitely best for somebody who really wants like the witchy fantasy elements than the mystery. So if you're like a hardcore mystery fan and you really want the mystery above all else, this one might be a little too like heavy in the fantasy area. It does take place in our world in San Francisco. Our main character in this is Lily, and she is a witch. She can sense vibrations from objects, and she also does like brews and potions, and she's a very powerful witch. She's recently moved to San Francisco. She's got a very restless nature. She's been running around her whole life trying to kind of hide who she is, and this is about her trying to really build community, which is an aspect I really like. And she runs a vintage clothing shop, which is another element I love because clothing is amazing. But this one is really fun with the supernatural elements. It definitely goes very heavy into, you get to meet like other witches and other Wiccans and like other people with magical abilities. There's like ghosts, like real like ghosts and stuff like that. So if you want like a very heavily supernatural cozy mystery, I think this is really fun. I think the vintage elements were great. I thought the main character was really fun, so I definitely recommend this for those looking for a very witchy time. Similarly, another cozy that I love is Murder in a Scottish Shire by Traci Hall. This is the first in the series. I've read 2 in this series so far, and I've just loved it. Our main character is Paisley, and she's a 28-year-old. She has about a 9-year-old son, I want to say, so she had him quite young. And this is about her building this shop called Cashmere Crush, which is a yarn shop. So you have like all the different skeins of yarn. And she also does these like custom orders, so she'll be making sweaters and things. You get to read about that. It's really fascinating. There's like a crafting sewing group that meets there, which I love. I love all the like hobby groups and cozy mysteries that with like friends. I think that's one of the best cozy elements. We have an adorable Scottish Terrier bonus, but this one is a really interesting time. But basically Paisley is going about her life. You know, she's working on trying not to run late everywhere with her son Brady to like drop him off to school. She's trying to, you know, build her business, you know, normal small business owner concerns, that sort of thing. But then one day she discovers the body of a young woman nearby, and she actually has some kind of connection to the woman, so she gets involved in the case. And at the same time, this is a really great cozy mystery with a lot of family elements. If you love that, I love that personally. Her grandfather actually ends up moving in with her and Brady, and they're estranged. Like, they haven't talked in years. So it's a very tense, he's a very like grumpy kind of guy, but I like, you grow to love him. It's so like, I love the 3 generations under one roof. I love it. So for that reason, I think this is a great pick for fall, because I think knitting, sweaters, coziness, it takes place in Scotland, which I think is a cool like crisp weather. So I think this is a really great series for this time of year. One of my all-time favorite classics. I think if you like mysteries, you've probably heard of this before, but if you haven't read it, this is my urging. Go read it. It's so good. And that is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I love it. I love it. I read this last year. I actually have a whole reading vlog dedicated to this, so if you want to check that out, I'll link it above. It doesn't have any spoilers in it. But And Then There Were None takes place where 10 strangers end up on this island. Each of them is kind of lured to the island under different circumstances. Like some of them think they're getting a job on the island, some of them think they're invited to a party or they're meeting a friend. You get the point. They're all there, and then one, the night they arrive, they're kind of like, where's the person I was supposed to meet or my employer? They're kind of realizing something's not right. And as they realize this, one by one, people start to die. And there's also this really creepy nursery rhyme that kind of mimics what's happening, and it's terrifying. So I highly recommend this. It's just, oof. Yeah, then as it says, copies of a macabre nursery rhyme hang in each room, a nursery rhyme with an omen of death for all 10 of them. And this came first in a global vote to find the world's favorite Agatha Christie. So if you are really new to like classic mysteries, this is a really great place to start. It's just so good. You'll find a lot of mysteries nowadays have like similar tropes to this one. It's just such an incredible one, and it's pretty short actually. It's like 240 some pages, so it's a pretty quick read, really fun, easy to get into, just one that's hard to put down. A recent read of mine that I adored and I need to recommend, and a bunch of you also echoed in the comments when I talked about getting this book, saying that you loved it, so I had to include it, and that's Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murders by Jessa Q. Sutanto. And this is incredible. We have Vera Wong, who is described as a little old lady of a certain age. She lives above her tea shop in San Francisco, and one day she goes downstairs and there's this body just there, which, horrifying. I don't know. I don't know what I'd do. I don't know if I'd scream, pass out. I would not be thrilled. Who would be? But she calls the police, and then she looks over at the body and she sees there's like a thumb drive, and she decides to grab the thumb drive because she's like, you know what? I can solve this better than the police. I can do this better than the police. And that's what she does, and it's just great. And she's got like a young son she connects with online, so she's actually pretty tech savvy, and it's just such a heartwarming, like, you gotta love Vera Wong. Like, she's one of those characters, you just love her. So, great cozy mystery, really fun, just a great time. Next one is an amazing young adult murder mystery. It's not maybe classically marketed as a cozy mystery, but it fits the genre where you have like amateur sleuths. There's not like super graphic violence or anything like that because of the young adult nature. So that is In the Hall with the Knife, a clue mystery by Diana Peterfreund. And this, if you haven't noticed, between this and The Golden Spoon, I love Clue. The board game, the movie, everything Clue related, I love it. And I think board games and Clue are just such a fall thing for me especially. And this is based on the Clue characters. So we actually have these, I'd say they're like young adults, teenagers, and they're at a boarding school, and it's remote, of course, and it's like snowy, so I think it's more of a wintry setting, but still, nonetheless, a great setting. So this has a great isolation trope going for it. Basically, these students are trapped on campus. A lot of the students have left for like the holidays, but the remaining students are some of the ones in the Clue group, and someone amongst them dies and is very clearly like murdered, and they start freaking out. The staff is freaking out. They're all trying to like group together, and these kids start to kind of explore, and it's really fun to see how these characters are like reincarnated into young adults and just modern day versions of the original Clue characters, because like Colonel Mustard is very usually portrayed as like an older man, and in this one he's a young man, so it's just very interesting to see the characters in this form. And you are flipping around between different perspectives, so you are jumping around each of the Clue characters' perspectives. This is a trio. There are 3 books out in the series. I did purchase book 2. I'm about to read that soon, but this book was just so fun. It's one that's kind of easy to fly through, really fun. I don't think the mystery was super challenging to solve, but it's just a good time. It's like a good one to cozy up with, like just to enjoy like a nice cozy blanket and some hot chocolate while you read this is great. Another supernatural cozy I like, and this one's a little less overt. I mean, there's a lot of supernatural elements still, but it's a little less heavy than the witchy one, and that is A Hex for Danger, an Enchanted Bay mystery by Esme Addison. The first book in this is called A Spell for Trouble. I would start with that one. It's definitely a series you want to read in order. I just don't own that one, but A Spell for Trouble, and this one basically it takes place in this enchanted bay, and our main character is descended from a line of mermaids, so she has like kind of water related mermaid abilities. And in the first one she returns to Bellamy Bay to reunite with family, and she was kind of cut off from her family with the side with the magic as a child, and she's trying to learn about her heritage and like her magic, and she's working in the apothecary that the family owns, and the relationships between the family members are amazing. The magical elements are really great. I just think these are just such a fun cozy mystery series and just perfect with the supernatural elements. Another one with very subtle supernatural elements, if you are like me and you kind of prefer more non-supernatural cozy, I guess, is Dead and Breakfast by Kate Kingsbury. This is a Meri ghost inn. As the name suggests, the ghost is at the inn, but he's a very friendly ghost overall. You know, it's not like a bad time, it's not spooky, but we have our main character Melanie, and her grandmother are working together to open a bed and breakfast. Like, it's their dream, and they have this cute puppy. This is before the hotel is opened, and then of course a murder happens on the premises, which kind of halts everything. The police get involved, and they decide they have to solve it too, because the delay on their business is really putting a huge like hindrance on their finances, so they are working to solve it before they run out of money, essentially. So no pressure there. We have a little bit of the spookiness with the haunting in the house, but it's not as supernatural as the other ones, because like the main characters don't have like special abilities or anything like that. Otherwise they're just regular people. So depending on what you like, I think it's a really fun time. One that I finished this year that I really enjoyed, this is more of a classic mystery category, and that's The Illustrated Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. I specifically recommend this edition if you can, because it's illustrated, like, beautifully. I mean, this just screams fall, like the beauty, like kind of the aged pages, like everything about this just gives me fall vibes, and I love it. And the pictures just made it so much more enjoyable to read. And of course, I'm sure you're probably familiar with Sherlock Holmes, you know, the most iconic like British detective, really, I would say. And him and Watson go about solving different mysteries. There's over 10 different short stories in this. All of them I really enjoyed. I had such a good time reading this, and the illustrations really make a huge difference to really get you into that vibe and that atmosphere. So I highly recommend this edition. I will have everything written down below and linked in the description if you want to check any of the specific books I'm talking about out. So this one is just such a vibe, I would say. If you do like short stories but you want something a little creepier, this is by Daphne DuMaurier. It's called Don't Look Now. This is a short story collection filled with so many macabre, creepy short stories based on like everyday life. So it's nothing that I remember, at least, that was crazy out of the ordinary, and that's what made it scary, is because it was based on everyday life. So these were just different short stories. I can't really go into each short story summary, but they're definitely very creepy, very much goosebump inducing. So I highly recommend her work. Also, My Cousin Rachel and Rebecca are two of my favorites. My Cousin Rachel takes place where we're following a young man who was raised by, I think it was like his uncle, and his uncle gets ill and he goes out to Italy to kind of recover with the warmer weather, because they're from England and the weather's quite cold there. And while he's away, he's been a bachelor his whole life and he's quite up there in years, he gets married to his cousin Rachel, who he meets out there. Shortly after that, he dies, and the main character is basically trying to solve, did the cousin Rachel have anything to do with it? Like, was she a Black Widow? Was it just a like an accident? Was it something where it was just a very unfortunate, tragic event? And it's just very suspenseful. Is a very like dramatic suspense, I would say. So I really recommend Daphne DuMaurier's work this time of year. It's just so atmospheric and suspenseful, and it's such an amazing read for this time of year as a result. If you like a bookish cozy, I recommend The Stolen Letter by Paige Shelton. This is a Scottish bookshop mystery. Again, I just feel like Scotland seems like a really great, just crisp, cold weather. It just makes me think of fall and winter. And this one is really amazing. Our main character is Delaney, and she grew up in the Midwest in the US. So she is not a native to Scotland, unlike our Scottish Shire mystery series, which I really like, because you kind of get to see her learn the customs and learn about the culture throughout the series. The first book in the series is The Cracked Spine, but basically Delaney is going about life. She's been hired on at this really amazing bookshop, and they also have all these eccentric treasures and things that they sell there, and the owner, Edwin, basically has his own personal collection of kind of bookish related things, like historical objects, like an old desk, like different things from monarchs, like all these fabulous treasures, and he has her cataloging them and studying them because she has a background on that. So it's really fascinating with the bookish elements, and then the mysteries are always tied into like history or books or both in some way, which I personally love. So this is my favorite cozy mystery series. I would definitely recommend it. Another one I love for this time of year, it takes place during Halloween, and that is Haunted Hair Nights by Nancy J. Cohen. This is a Halloween novella from the Bad Hair Day Mystery Series. I love the Bad Hair Day Mystery Series. It does take place in Florida, so it's a little more summery feeling to me overall, but this particular novella is a really great read for this time of year. Our main character, Marla, she's a hairdresser, and she is working with her stepdaughter's class to do this haunted house, and she's doing like the hair and like makeup on people, and they find a body on the premises, and she is determined to solve this mystery to protect her stepdaughter. And it's just really great spooky vibes, really fun. I love her writing style, this author. It's incredible. A couple historical fiction ones. I have Louisa and the Crystal Gazer by Anna Maclean. The first one in the series I think is Louisa and the Missing Heiress. I really love that. I've read the first two in the series. This is the only one I haven't read yet. And basically our main character is actually Louisa May Alcott, the writer of Little Women. So it's a reimagined version of the author before she becomes famous for her writing, and she's helping friends and family. It's really great historical viewpoint of the time. It's interesting to learn about her family and kind of their viewpoints on transcendentalism and stuff like that. You learn a little bit about that and just see what a loyal, amazing person Louisa probably was in this, especially this reimagined version. And yeah, I really recommend the mysteries. They're really fun, usually have to do with friends and family. Hi guys, future Amy here. So long story short, I was editing this video last night, and the middle of the video, the footage was gone, so I was missing 9 books or series from this 30+ list. So I'm here today to refilm this section, so ignore the other outfit, but let's hop in. The first one I want to talk about is A Most Agreeable Murder by Juliet Seals. So this is a pretty cozy but very humor heavy mystery. It basically is like Pride and Prejudice meets Clue, and you have our main character Beatrice, who is not what that society would call the most ladylike. She's not very good at music or art or any of sewing or anything that ladies should be good at according to the age. She actually likes reading true crime cases in the newspaper. It's her secret hobby, but when things get really rough financially with her family, she agrees to go to this ball to try to attract a wealthy bachelor so they can get married and kind of secure her family's financial future, and she's the eldest daughter. Is kind of what's expected of her. Well, she's at the ball and a murder happens, and so she gets involved in it, and it's so funny. It's hilarious. The writing style for this, it's such a satirical take on the Pride and Prejudice kind of world. I highly recommend it. I had such a fun time with this, and the ball setting was just a blast. For those of you looking for a true Halloween cozy, I recommend Fatal Fudge Swirl by Meri Allen. This is book 3 in the Ice Cream Shop Mystery series. You could jump right into this one if you can. I recommend reading them in order, but you can definitely jump into this. And our main character in this is Riley Rhodes. She's a food blogger and ex-librarian from the CIA, which is really cool. But now she's working in an ice cream shop, and this takes place in Penniman, Connecticut. She's a really great character, very loyal. She works at this ice cream shop, and basically they have been hired to do an ice cream cake for a Halloween wedding, which is also Halloween themed. It's very over the top, and I'm loving it. Look how gorgeous. This is one of my favorite cozy mystery covers ever because it's just the color scheme and the creepy. I love it. It's amazing. So this wedding takes the ice cream cake is what it says on the cover, and it's absolutely true. Basically something happens and Riley gets involved in a murder investigation. She's actually kind of working at the hotel or the inn where the wedding guests are all staying, and she's doing some maid work and stuff to help out a friend because they're really short-staffed, but she's also getting to snoop through people's rooms and stuff, so I love the access that gives her. I just love this. It's one of my favorite cozy mystery series I started this year. I've read all 3 that are out so far. I really recommend it. It's just so cozy and awesome, and this is such a great Halloween one. There's also a Halloween festival taking place, so you have that aspect too. It's about as Halloween of a cozy as you can get, so highly recommend that one. Speaking of fall festivals, this takes place during the Alpenfest. This is A Sprinkle in Time by Dana Mentink. This is the 2nd book in the Shake Shop Mystery series. I would recommend, if you can, reading book 1 just because there's a lot of character relationships this one builds on, but again, it's a cozy mystery like most. You can kind of jump in. Main character is Trinidad Jones, and basically her grandfather runs this taxi service with his Chevy Bel Air, but one day a body is found in the trunk, and he freaks out and he calls her and the police. He has no idea why it's got there, and she starts to investigate. This mystery went in so many places. I had no idea. There's also an adorable kind of failed service dog named Noodles who tried to pass the service dog test, didn't quite make it, but Trinidad adopted Noodles, and Noodles is amazing. And the shakes descriptions, amazing. Lots of great fall color. The Alpenfest is really interesting to learn about some of the details for that. And I just love the found family focus that this series has. I really recommend it for that. It wouldn't be like a cozy recommendations video if I didn't throw in the Noodle Shop Mystery somewhere. This doesn't necessarily have like super strong vibes, but it's just one of my all-time favorite series. Main character in this one is Lana Lee, and she works at her family's noodle shop. She's like kind of a manager. She can't really cook, which is actually a contentious point for her with some of her family. And she lives with a really great roommate, Megan. She's got a pug. You already got me right there. But this is just one of my favorite series for the writing style, the mysteries. Like, they always have me guessing. The family dynamics are amazing as you kind of read it throughout this, like, as she's kind of growing with her family. You see her kind of butt heads with her older sister, who's like the very perfect child, and she's the younger child who's a little more rebellious. I just love this. All the mysteries for the most part take place in Asia Village, which is this plaza where the noodle shop is, along with a lot of like other Asian establishments. So there's like, you know, a beauty salon, there's a bar, there's other restaurants, there's a donut shop, there's a beauty shop, like all types of stuff. It's a great series. If you're looking for something cozy, this series cannot be beat. For historical fiction cozy fans, I recommend two series. One, this one only has one book out. It just came out in May. It's A Deed of Dreadful Note by Patricia Meredith. This is the Anna Catherine Green mystery series. So it actually takes the real life writer Anna Catherine Green and brings her to life in this wonderful way. Her writing style is so beautiful. Like, the historical details, she includes so many in both these series I'm going to be talking about. I love all the writing and like bookish elements that are incorporated into this one, because she's just kind of starting as a writer. It's before her books were published, and she actually is her first book was The Leavenworth Case, and it came out actually about 15-20 years before like Agatha Christie, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, a lot of the like mystery classics we think of today, and she actually came up with a lot of the tropes that they were using. So it's really cool because she's lesser known. I really enjoyed learning about her story, and it has a fantastic mystery. This one threw me, and the ending actually made me cry because there was this great emotional subplot, so highly recommend. The other series from her that I love is the Spokane Clock Tower mystery series. So we have the first one here is Butcher Baker Candlestick Taker, then we have Cupboards All Bared and Crazy Maids in a Row. I have read all three. Highly recommend. It takes place in 1901 Spokane, Washington. It does follow 6 different points of view, and it's done really well because normally that's too many points of view for my taste, but it was nailed. Absolutely recommend it. I thought it was so well done. The mysteries, this first one I get especially like jaw-dropping, but I love the mysteries in each one. It has a very like golden age mystery style, lots of layers, very complicated, lots of great characters. You get to see them evolve throughout the series. So if you love a good historical fiction series and you're just interested in learning about Spokane, Washington, and the time, one of our main characters that we're reading about is an inventor, which I love. We also have one who's a thief. It's really great. So I highly recommend both these series if you're looking for anything cozy and historical. Next, the one that I've really loved this year is the Cheese Shop Mystery series, and specifically if you're looking for fall vibes, go for Gone for Gouda. This is book 2 in the series. Again, you could jump in at any point, but the first book is equally as good. Our main character in this is Willa, and it takes place in Yarrow's Glen, which is like a Sonoma Valley city, and basically she opens a French-inspired cheese shop, and she's like a cheesemonger, and I love it. Absolutely love it. Willa is a fantastic character. The cheesy goodness is amazing in every single book. There's some recipes I actually bookmarked at the back because I need to try them. And this one in particular takes place where a vegan influencer is coming to talk about different vegan cheeses at Willa's shop. But then it's discovered and like released to the public that this vegan influencer has been lying and they actually eat meat, which is of course very shocking because they've been saying otherwise, and her reputation is ruined. Someone is murdered. Willa gets on the case because one of her employees is suspected in the murder. Cheesy goodness is amazing. The coziness is off the boards, and that she just has a very charming writing style. So I really recommend the Cheese Shop Mystery series. And then a recent one that I've enjoyed was the Haunted Bookshop Mystery series by Cleo Coyle. This one is The Ghost and the Dead Deb. I'll link the vlog where I talked about this one in depth along with some other fall cozy reads and thrillers. So if you want to check that out, links up above. But this one takes place with our main character Penelope. She runs a bookshop, but it's haunted by a ghost from the 1940s, and he is actually a private investigator named Jack, and only she can really communicate with him. Like, they communicate a lot, and it's kind of interesting because he uses kind of more hard-boiled detective, like 40s language like you would expect, and obviously it's set in contemporary times, so it's very interesting to see the contrast with that. It's still cozy, but it's really fun. And this one takes place where an author is speaking at her shop, and she's kind of revealing secrets that are bringing to light people who are still alive around this like murder, this mysterious murder, and she's kind of naming some suspects, and they're not so happy about being named, and someone ends up dying, and Penelope and Jack are on the case. I like how he pushes her to look beyond her amateur sleuthing and to think even more like deeply about the situation because of his own background. You also have a few flashbacks. We get to see things from his perspective in the 40s, which was really cool. So I'm looking forward to it. I've only read this book so far, but I'm looking forward to continuing. And then the one that I'm going to jump into, the footage will cut back to me in my original outfit, but Soul of a Killer by Abby Collette. This is a Books and Biscuits mystery series. I really recommend it. I had such a good time. I've read both books in the series so far. There's just 2 out, but they've both been a blast, and it both fulfills that bookish and culinary cozy aspect, which I love, along with a lot of family ties. So you have 2 fraternal twins in this one, and they grew up separately, one in the foster care system, one who was adopted into like a middle-class family, and they are both wonderful characters. Our main character, Keaton, we're kind of reading from her perspective, and she was formerly a librarian, but she opens the bookshop part of their business, and he is actually a great cook and loves like southern food, especially. So there's all these mouth-watering descriptions of southern food. I've never wanted to try fried okra before, but I now want to try it. It sounds so delicious, but I really love this one. It does take place in the Pacific Northwest in Timber Lake. You just have lots of good bookish and yummy, delicious like food vibes, and I just loved the first book, especially the mystery for that one was really solid. The way that they figured it out, like the final kind of clue that tipped them off, was fascinating, and I think the writing style is just so warm and inviting. Another one I recommend, because just theme-wise I think this is such a fun fall or winter one, is Crust No One, or A Bread Shop Mystery by Winnie Archer. The first book in the series is Kneaded to Death, and this is actually what's inspired me to bake bread. I've baked bread in some of my vlogs before. I'll link a video above if you want to check out some of my reading vlogs with that, but I love this. Our main character is Ivy, and she is like a freelance photographer and a bread shop assistant, and she's trying to cope with the grief of losing her mother by working in this bread shop, and she's built a like community around that. She's become friends with her neighbor, Miss Branford, who's like in her 70s, and they're kind of like a tag team for sleuthing, which I love. And I love the community with the women at the bread shop especially, but I highly recommend these. There's like, I think the first book there's like a hit and run, but the bread shop descriptions are amazing. There's a beautiful, adorable little pug named Agatha. And this one in particular was my favorite, I think, from the series. There's been so many good ones, but this book too, like, blew my socks off. Like, wow. The ending for this, like, hit me in the gut. So I really recommend that series. Another one I love cozying up with during this time of year is Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Manansala. This is part of the Tita Rossi's Kitchen Mystery series. Our main character is Leela. This is a very family-oriented cozy mystery. Tons of family interactions. I really love it. In the first book, she has moved back home to I think it's Shady Palms is where they live, and she's working in her family's Filipino restaurant, and one day one of the customers just kind of keels over in the middle of serving, and the family is suspected in the murder. So she works to clear her family's name. This one definitely has a little more of a realistic, darker edge than your average cozy. It's still cozy, it's not graphic or anything, but it definitely deals a little more with like real world realities, which I like. I think that's refreshing, and I just really recommend this series because the family, our main character, is just so, I love her spirit, I love her energy, I love the delicious food descriptions in this one. I've learned a lot more about Filipino food, and it's really inspired me to look into it more, and I just really recommend it. Another great baking cozy for this time of year is the Bake Shop Mysteries by Ellie Alexander. This is like a fan favorite on YouTube for a really good reason. Our main character in this is Jules, and she moves back to Ashland, Oregon to work in her family's bake shop, Tort, and she works with her mom and some other employees, and she is a delightful character. The descriptions for the baking are top notch, like mouth-watering, and I love this series because of the setting especially and the seasonality. All of the books in the series basically have very strong roots in either holidays or seasons, so if you're like a seasonal reader, this one has some great picks for you. The mysteries are always really great, and I would read this series in order if you can, simply because all the side characters get their own like subplots, and they're developing so beautifully throughout the series, so to really appreciate that, I would read it in order. But delicious descriptions, heartwarming family moments, amazing beautiful setting in Ashland, Oregon. I really love it. Another historical fiction I would recommend is A Royal Spinous Mystery Series by Rhys Bowen. This is one of the collections. It has the first 3 books in it, and this one takes place in the early 1900s. Our main character in this is Georgie, and she is Lady Georgiana, but Georgie is what her friends call her, and she's like 31st or something in line for the English throne, but she's basically like a minor royal. She refuses to get married in the first book because the prince is disgusting, and she's like, no, we're not doing that. Like, no. So she basically runs off to England. She's originally like in Scotland is like where her heritage is, and she runs off to England and she does like all these odd jobs. Like she works as a maid in one of them. Sometimes she gets actually like kind of hired out on like royal assignments by the queen, who's like kind of wants her to watch people, and then like a murder happens. I love Georgie. The writing for this is so easy to get sucked into, and it's one of my favorite, she's one of my favorite historical fiction writers in general. So if you like historical fiction, check out Reese Bowen in general. It's incredible. But I think the English setting is just especially reminds me of like, I don't know, rain and cold and dreary and fall. So that's my interpretation at least. Okay, and I think that's actually everything. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. Let me know, what is your favorite fall cozy mystery or just mystery in general? I'd love to hear. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this video gave you some fall inspiration. If you want some more fall inspiration, check out my fall TBR. I'll link it above for you to check out. And thank you guys for watching. My name is Amy Marie. If you want more mystery content, I upload every single week on this channel. So definitely hit subscribe because I have so much exciting stuff to share with you soon. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!